welcome to our new show, Obsessed, a show where we talk about whatever it is we're currently obsessed with. I'm Caitlin Palmer.
I'm Clay.
And we're
Obsessed.
It's a late night obsession with your two favorite hosts, Caitlin and Clay Palmer. Hi, Clay Palmer. How are you doing today?
You'd like a radio show host now?
Yes, this is our evening. This is Magic After Dark.
Yeah, we are recording extremely late.
It is very, very late because we decided to go to Popeyes. And let's be honest, if you've ever been to Popeyes, the line is pretty long.
At least ours is.
Ours is crazy. Okay, wherever y'all live, listeners, does everybody want fried chicken literally all the time?
I mean, I do, yeah.
Well, that's fair. If you've had fried chicken, it's kind of...
The only people that don't want it all the time are the people who haven't had fried chicken.
Oh, you sweet, sweet souls. Come down. Come on, we'll feed you. How hungry are you? How many pieces you want? We'll start you off with some legs, and then we'll move up from there. So, before we get started, I would like to have a moment of silence for Stranger Things. If you know, you know.
They're going to do another season.
If you know, you know. But for real, I read the best book, Clay. Like, it's seriously one of my favorite books now. And I like it so much, I think we're going to just give a copy away.
Okay.
It's called Dog Friendly. It's by my friend Victoria Shade. And it's really good. It's a really good feel-good vet med book. And it's got some dog training. And I'm going to give y'all one little spoiler, and that is the dog does not die. As a general rule, if there's a dog on the cover, I don't listen to it. I don't read it. I don't watch it. No, the dog does not die. This is a safe book. So we love it. You'll love it. We're going to give away a copy of it.
I mean, spoilers to anyone who hasn't seen this 20-year-old movie. I mean, none of the dogs die at the end of Homeward Bound.
No, but Homeward Bound really had me going.
Yeah.
I forgot years later as an adult and watched that movie. It was like, no.
It would have been an exceptionally sad death.
It would have been horrendous. When I was little, like before we ever got a dog, God, this was a long time ago, my dad was like, you want a dog like on Homeward Bound? I was like, yeah, one chance. And he was like, Kate, no, dogs don't really talk. And I was like, I still want Chance.
And then you were depressed because dogs didn't talk. Yeah. And you thought your dad was just bullshitting you.
Right.
He's like, oh, he has to say that he's a dad.
Yeah, he has to say that. He's a dad.
You might get a dog that's a dud that doesn't talk like all the other dogs.
Right. I mean, all the dogs on TV talked. Why couldn't my dog talk? Speaking of dogs talking, I'm so sorry if you guys can hear that in the background. We're at the clinic, and there is a sweet little dog that is barking and won't stop. We have done all of the things we can think of to get it to stop barking. I even picked it up and we tried to record with it because I was like, oh, look, we can just have a little third wheel. But she was not having it at all.
She seemed more agitated by being here.
She did, but hers going to be okay. So, Clay, what you got for me today, babe?
I don't think you read a story first.
I did. I told you about Dog Friendly.
Okay, but that wasn't like news or
That
anything.
is news.
That wasn't like an interesting tidbit.
That is a hot topic, like the store hot topic.
You were just like, I like a book.
Okay, so not only do I like the book, I love the book, and we're going to give away a copy of the book. So everyone, go follow us on Instagram at Obsessed with the Palmers, or send us an email to Clay.
No, don't send one to me. Send one to obsessedwiththepalmers@gmail.com.
Oh, you're good. So tell me, what are we talking about tonight, Clay? I'm excited.
Forgive me if this episode is a little brief, but this is about a cryptid that not much really exists on.
Ooh.
There were only a few sightings of this quite a long time ago. This takes place back in 1952.
Dang. So that is a long time ago, but as far as cryptids go, that's not that long ago.
Well, I guess it depends on the cryptid.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
So this takes place in a little town in West Virginia.
Oh?
Called Flatwoods. So have you ever heard?
Are you doing the Flatwoods Monster?
Yeah, I actually prefer the term that I saw used a couple times, the Phantom of Flatwoods.
Ooh, I like that too.
Yeah, you know how turned on I am by alliteration.
We love an alliteration here.
So Flatwoods is a small town in West Virginia with a population of less than 300 people.
Yeah, it's itty bitty baby.
Yeah, it was less than 300 people at this time. It is still less than 300 people.
Yeah.
The last update was 262 people living in this place. So the population hasn't even grown in this like 70 years.
Is it near like a large city? or anything?
I didn't exactly sprawl out the map to find where the next closest hub town was.
Well, you know how sometimes there's a really tiny city, like we're a really tiny city, but we're close to New Orleans, so.
Well, at least as far as I found looking at this, it's surrounded by a bunch of other small towns.
Right.
You know, at least to the south side and I think the west side, so.
Okay.
It's just kind of out there.
Okay.
In a very hilly area. It's very rolling hills.
We love a hill.
It's a pretty nice town. Like the little snapshot I got of sort of like the main hub of this town is like it can fit in one picture. It's like a couple of blocks. That's it.
Wow.
You know, there's really nothing here. Very rural. So back in 1952, I'm going to tell you a version of this story because as I'll get into later, the story diverges a lot. There's a lot of discrepancies in this story.
Yeah. A lot of people saw a lot of different things those nights.
Yeah, well, even just the main group, there's debate over sort of how many people were there and who was there and was there a dog or not.
Oh, I hope there was a dog.
just the dog being there was a hot topic.
Wait, I remember hearing about the dog. I hope the dog was not there.
The dog is fine, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah, dogs don't die on our show, so that's cool.
So, 3 young boys saw an object cross the sky at dusk that seemed to burn and crash into a nearby hillside. I'm leaving a lot of the names out for this.
Sure.
Just because there's so much discrepancy. Anyway, I'd rather not get the names involved.
Just for simplicity's sake.
The 3 boys ran home to tell one of their mothers. They were not brothers or anything. The mother had actually reported later having felt a violent tremor that interfered with the radio broadcast she was listening to at the time. So lend some credence to this boy's story that they saw this thing crash.
Sure.
So hearing the story, she called on a local guardsman to assist with this, amateur investigation.
Okay, so I literally just listened to a show about the Flatwoods Monster.
I can't believe you.
I didn't know that's what you were doing, but it was a joke because it was like, that mom is cool. She's like, well, let's go find it.
Right,
what a cool mom.
She's not like every other, we just talk about Stranger Things or Goonies or, E.T., any of the parents in that where they're just like, oh, kids are being dumb.
Yeah. Get in here and shut up.
She's like, sure, let's go on an adventure. I like that she called like a local guardsman though. She's like, well, let's, get somebody
Yeah, let's
involved.
have some backup.
Let's have
just
somebody.
in case.
After nearing the site of the crash, the group reports being blinded by a pulsating red light and smelling an acrid stench that burned their noses and eyes.
Sulfur.
Well, it was actually described as a burning metallic smell. I don't know that you've ever really smelt burning metal. Anyone who works with, welding or anything like that, they would know the smell. Working where I do, I know the smell if you leave the rake in there too long. It is a very particular smell. It kind of sits on the back of your tongue and in your throat. It does burn, but not like in a spicy sort of burn. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, and that's just a little bit, that's just, like I said, like a rake getting too hot. This was described as like a cloud or a mist of this stuff, which I imagine would be insufferable.
Can you imagine inhaling that through your nose?
Yeah, no, it would burn all the way down into your lungs.
Not about that.
Yeah, it's not a good smell. After getting closer, the guardsman shined his flashlight at a nearby sound where the group laid eyes on the creature in question for the first time. Now, they described it as being approximately 10 feet tall, though, of course, when I'm talking about the descriptions here, that ranged from person to person somewhere between 7 and 17 feet.
Sure. Well, that's how Mothman was.
Right. So 10 is a good. So the creature had a round red head with a sort of hood around it that came to a point, described by the mother as being like an ace of spades.
You know what I always pictured? The Pokemon Dreepy.
I am not familiar with Dreepy.
Hold on.
You can't just show me a picture of this what I assume is like a Gen 7 Pokemon or something.
It's a newer Pokemon.
Yeah, I only know names up to the 3rd gen.
That's how I pictured him. So, I think the Flatwoods Monster is cute.
Weird. Well, I'm going to show you a picture of the Flatwoods Monster when I'm done describing it.
Oh, I'm excited.
It also had 2 round eyes that shone with a green-orange light. A light was also emitted from behind its head and on its lower body. It had a dark green body, or clothes, hard to distinguish, that appeared like a dress made out of metal.
That's dope.
Yet very, very weird description. A lot of times you get things that are very similar. This is definitely kind of like left field sort of stuff. Again, the descriptions vary amongst the group, but the area was covered in a mist that made it difficult to see details. It appeared to have been levitating, though. The original report states it was leaning against a tree. The creature shrieked at the group and took flight above them, releasing this cloud of the same foul-smelling stench they initially encountered.
It farted.
The group panicked and ran away, and while none reported any injuries, each of them reported various symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, and sort of like throat problems, irritation.
Right. Well, and
sort
that
of
could
thing.
just be from whatever that metallic stuff was, too.
Right. Well, I mean, they're saying that this came from the creature.
Sure.
So I've actually just sent you pictures which you can put on the Instagram of what this creature looked like. So this is the original drawing.
Oh, see, I think it's cute.
Like into scale. This is sort of like made.
That's less cute.
Yeah, less cute. It's made to look more terrifying.
Oh,
now,
I just got the pictures you sent me.
Now, here is something that you may have recognized because this is in a video game that you've played.
It is?
It was the inspiration for the aliens. The aliens in Majora's Mask that show up. They are quite literally this monster. And I'll swing back around to that because it actually turns out they're a bit more popular in places that are not America.
That's so awesome. I didn't know that.
So the day after, one civilian reportedly saw an unknown aircraft take off from the area. There were reports of strange substances found around the area that appeared like some sort of black, gummy, semi-liquid material that was resistant to flame. It was actually said that it could not burn, as well as some unknown tracks. So the small town became a national sensation basically overnight, with many people calling into the town in search of answers and many UFO enthusiasts making the trip to investigate themselves. More reports came to light as publicity grew. Sometime before the event, a Miss Harper and a friend of hers reported seeing a ball of fire in the hills of nearby Heaters, West Virginia.
The hills are alive.
I hate that movie.
Balls of fire.
You know that?
Fire.
What did you say?
The hills are alive with the balls of flour, but that wasn't correct. It was supposed to be fire.
Anyway, after looking back at the light, she claims it was no longer there, and in place was the shadow of a tall man-shaped creature.
Oh, a man-shaped
creature. Now, around the time of the crash, a young woman was hospitalized just 11 miles away from the site after being exposed to allegedly the same odor and the creature itself. The day after, one couple, I will say these names, George and Edith Snatowski.
Ooh, good name.
I had to try to say that last name. They report driving on a small town road some 20 miles south of the site where their car stalled, bringing them to a stop. George exited and tried to discern why the car had stalled, and while working on the car, he reported smelling a foul stench and seeing a bright light emerge from the night. A 10-foot reptilian creature hovered over their car and passed onto the opposite side of the road, disappearing once more into the darkness, seemingly not paying any attention to the couple themselves. The car allegedly began working again as soon as the creature was out of sight, and the couple left in a panic. Now, they actually did not report this story until some 3 years after the incident.
Okay, I heard that story, but with one little twist.
What's that?
In the one I read or heard. So that happens, right? He's working on the car. They see the thing. He's like, oh, crap. So he jumps in the car and he's like, over the girl, like, I'm going to protect you, except we're both going to die. Oh, shit. And then the thing goes by. Like, it just, like you said, it just goes by. Mm-hmm. But it has like these tentacly things and one of them touches the car and it leaves a burn.
Yeah. In what I saw, there was no like damage reported, but it did make mention of the clawed hand sort of like brush over the hood of the car.
Yeah.
Many newspapers, reported wildly different accounts of the same stories. And even the witnesses disagree on exactly what was seen within the group, blaming the thick mist for the visual discrepancies.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But no one could really seem to sort of agree on what exactly they saw. A lot of things were kind of similar, and then there were some things that were just like way off to the side. Like in the original group, one of the children reported seeing this giant ball of flame that apparently no one else saw. But a giant ball of flame is hard to miss, and I mean, as a young kid, he could have got it wrong, that whole thing. But the problem is that nothing quite lines up very well. And there was a lot of hysteria around this. many explanations could be used. Obviously, the barn owl is a creature with quite a few similarities to the Flatwood Phantom.
It's always the barn owl.
You know, as we discussed, it has similarities with a lot of cryptid sightings. Female barn owls, in particular, tend to have a much more reddish hue to their very round faces that do seemingly come up to a point, kind of like that spade shape. They also, of course, have big, reflective eyes.
Right.
As commonly found in all owls.
Right.
The dark and heightened emotions can make recalling details difficult at best.
Oh, sure.
Oddly enough, 2 other factors were at play. A meteor appeared in the sky the same night over nearby Pennsylvania, and at the time of the incident, the sheriff of Flatwoods was actually investigating a plane crash in that area.
Oh, wow.
Both of which would have easily been mistaken for a UFO, crash landing
or
in the hills.
Giant ball of fire crashing.
The woman that was injured and in the hospital, this is another case of these weird discrepancies that don't really make sense. It was actually her and her mother who were, out having a walk when they encountered this creature and the odor associated with the creature. But this was a week prior to the first sighting and the supposed crash that took place.
So she was just like, ooh, that stinks. Now I'm sick.
They also gathered a statement from a local farmer who said that at the approximate time of the crash, her house had been violently shaken and her radio also cut out, similar to the first.
I'm getting UFO vibes.
Yeah, no, definitely. In fact, a report was made by the director of the local board of education, who had claimed to see a flying saucer take off at the wee hours of the morning of September 13th, the morning after the creature was sighted.
September 13th is our wedding anniversary. Maybe it was us from the past.
You think that's what it was?
Yes.
There's more discrepancies that go along with the couple who was stopped, as we were talking about, in particular that they described it as a reptilian humanoid, which was a little...
Yeah, and the rest, it's kind of like a robot alien warrior queen with a spade for a head.
Yeah.
And or the Pokemon Droopy.
So the Flatwoods Phantom design is popular specifically in Japan UFO culture. As we talked about, it was in Majora's Mask.
Yes.
Quite obviously.
Yeah, now that I know that's what it is, that is definitely.
It also appeared at the final boss of an NES game called Amagon, as well as a game called Space Harrier 2.
Ooh.
An anime series called Sergeant Frog.
Nice.
A Wii U game called The Wonderful 101. The 3DS game Tamagotchi Life.
Ooh.
As well as a few other games. There's a creature in Fallout 76 named the Flatwoods Monster, obviously in, not reverence, but in reference to. So 1952 was known as the Summer of the Saucers. Men from Mars and other alien interest was booming at the time.
What year was this?
1952.
Oh, okay.
It'd be quite an understating, rather, to say that the people of our country were just a little bit alien crazy. The monster itself has not been seen since 1952.
No, it just came and went.
There is like a chair they have right at the sort of like town entrance, where the back of the chair is in the shape of the monster.
Yeah, it's like one of those giant chairs you can go take a picture with.
It looks a little derpy.
If you've been, please send us pictures. That's so cool.
Right, yeah. But, they own it. It's a very small town, as we've discussed.
Absolutely. Well, it's like how Point Pleasant, they just embraced their weird.
Yeah. When I say that 1952 was known as the Summer of Saucers, I mean, there were quite a few UFO sightings that took place. Another one that was very popular that went on was the Washington, D.C. incident.
Oh.
Which is pretty popular.
That's where the lizard people came from.
So this was a lot of sightings over consecutive weekends that ranged from July 19th to July 27th.
That's not a long time.
Well, I mean, it is for multiple sightings to have been seen, reported at once.
Oh, no, but I'm just saying that's a lot of sightings and not a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, within a short span of time.
The thing with these is that they were pretty well documented and recorded because Washington, D.C., being the capital,
right,
has a pretty controlled airspace with things like that. So you had pilots, stewardesses, on national airlines. You had the Air Force themselves, the national airport with us on radars, picking up all of these different blips.
Yeah. Legitimate UFO, unidentified flying object.
Right. One time these objects were recorded as traveling very slowly, and sometimes they were recorded as traveling over 7,000 miles an hour.
Okay, come on, guys. That's not believable.
No, probably not. But two U.S. Air Force F-94 Starfire jet fighters.
Okay, now say that 5 times really fast.
No way I can. From the Newcastle Air Force Base in Delaware. They were sent over there to intercept these radar blips that had been detected. The Captain John McHugo, the flight leader.
If your name is John McHugo, you have to work on a flight.
He was vectored towards the radar blips, but didn't see anything, despite repeated attempts. His wingman, however, Lieutenant William Patterson, did see 4 white glows.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, weird flex.
Flex, okay.
He told investigators, quote, "I tried to make contact with the bogies below 1,000 feet. I was at my maximum speed, but I ceased chasing them because I saw no chance of overtaking them." Basically meaning that they were going too fast for him to...
Probably not 7,000 miles an hour fast, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, a jet can move pretty quick, though. But he didn't see any chance of catching up with them, much less, getting ahead of them. He called out over the radio, "I see them now. They're all around me. What should I do?" And nobody answered them because we didn't know what to tell him, according to Albert Chop, who was working ground control at the time.
Oh, man. Can you imagine, how do you tell somebody without sounding totally crazy, nutso, cuckoo, nut man?
Yeah. It's one of those things, that's, I don't know, that's just kind of scary. We didn't know what to tell him.
Right.
Because we didn't know what to do. After midnight on July 27th, Major Dewey Fournet, maybe it's French, it might be a Fournat.
Probably Fournet.
Project Blue Book's liaison at the Pentagon, and Lieutenant John Holcomb of the United States Navy radar specialist arrived at the radar center at National Airport. During the night, Lieutenant Holcomb received a call from the Washington National Weather Station, who told him that a slight temperature inversion was present over the city, which would explain the weird radar blips.
I'm stupid. What's a temperature inversion?
Sort of like a temperature flip, like just going from hot to cold real fast or cold to hot.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's simple. Okay.
However, Holcomb felt that the inversion was not nearly strong enough to explain the good and solid returns on the radioscopes. So in his professional opinion, that was not a good enough excuse for these blips.
Holcomb knows what he's talking about.
He even brings up that there had been weather targets on the scope, too, to sort of compare them to, and they just...
wasn't...
Yeah, it just wasn't comparable. 2 more F-94s from Newcastle were scrambled during the night. One pilot reported seeing nothing unusual, while the other pilot did see a white light which vanished when he moved towards it.
He was scared.
Yeah, so it just dipped away. No.
He was like, nope, I don't want to be the Flatwoods Monster no more.
So Director of Intelligence, Roger Ramey, and USAF Director of Operations held a well-attended press conference at the Pentagon on July 29th. At the event, Sanford stated that the visual sightings over Washington could be explained as misidentified aerial phenomenon, such as stars or meteors.
Yeah, they'd like us to believe that, wouldn't they?
And an unknown radar targets could be explained by the reported temperature inversion, which was also present. In addition, Sanford stated the unknown radar contacts were not caused by solid material objects and therefore pose no threat to national security.
Okay.
Sanford said that there had been hundreds of such contacts where Air Force fighter interceptions had taken place, but stated that they were all, and this is the word he used, fruitless.
Without fruit.
However, this was the largest Pentagon press conference since World War II.
Shoot.
So that's how big of a deal this was.
Wow. Yeah, World War II, that little thing.
This, of course, was, not the only event to take place, even just during these, past couple of weekends here in the summer of 1952.
Stuff was happening in the summer of 1952.
Yeah, people were going, ape about UFOs at this time. A senior editor for aviation, Philip Klass, told a reporter in 2002 while discussing the topic that radar technology in 1952 wasn't sophisticated enough to filter out many ordinary objects, such as flocks of birds, weather balloons, or temperature inversions.
Sure.
The reporter added that UFO proponents argue that even then-seasoned controllers could differentiate between spurious targets and solid metallic objects. Class disagreed, saying, "It may be that we," and I'm going to quote here, "we had 2 dumb controllers at National Airport on those nights."
Hey, Holocone was not stupid.
And then added that the introduction of digital filters in the 1970s led to a steep decline in UFO sightings on radar.
Well, that's fair, though.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, I mean, these 2 guys, they'd been doing their job. I mean, they weren't new at their jobs. You know what I mean? So they knew something was weird.
They at least were sure of themselves enough to scramble up to 4 fighter jets. So
yeah, 4 measly fighter jets.
4 measly fighter jets. I mean, something goes down over Washington, D.C., they're gonna...
Oh, sure.
They're gonna
do the best of the best.
Yeah,
absolutely. Even for 1952. But, I mean, that is true, though, that technology has come so far since then.
And since then, the sightings of UFOs have gone down.
Right.
Despite, that's the biggest argument, is that despite the fact that we're walking around with these high-powered cameras in our pockets at all times, we're somehow getting less sightings.
Yeah, because we're all looking at our phones.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Maybe UFO technology has increased to the point that they can't be recorded anymore.
Maybe it's like some of these preventions we use. They get a resistance to it and they get better.
They get a resistance to cameras.
Yeah. They have evolved. Life
They've got these
finds
auto
a way.
detection things like, oh yeah, put up the invisibility shield now. Somebody's pointed a camera at us.
It's not that far-fetched.
I guess.
It's kind of far-fetched.
It's a little far-fetched, but then again, I mean, if you're able to travel faster than light, then
sure,
any sort of scientific explanation goes out the window.
Sure. I mean, it could have been nothing. It could have been just a flock of birds or something. But a lot of people saw very similar things that night.
Yeah. Well, the point I'm trying to make with this is that these sightings over D.C. took place a few months before the sightings of the Flatwood Monster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was quite literally on everyone's tongue,
Right.
So there you go. That's the Flatwoods Monster. Unfortunately, like I said, not a whole lot on him.
No, there's not. He just came like a thief in the night. He was just like, hey, I'm going to do some spooky
And see,
stuff.
to me, that actually lends a little bit more credence to a cryptid story, is if they just show up and then they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of this like, oh yeah, he's been around for 150 years. It's like, how long does this thing live?
Right.
How old is Bigfoot?
Right. I think
like,
Bigfoot
if he was
is
a Galapagos
species.
tortoise, then I wouldn't question it. But
right.
he's not.
Or is he?
Well, that would be interesting. I haven't seen a Bigfoot as a tortoise yet. But I'm
everybody, fan art, please.
I'm sure someone has done it.
They should have.
On the subject of Bigfoot, while I'm on my route in Pensacola, I thought it was just one guy selling these big metal cutouts of like a walking Bigfoot silhouette. It's not. There are like 10 vendors of these specific Bigfoot sign lawn ornaments. I don't know what you call them. They're full-sized, like sheets of metal cut out to look like a walking Bigfoot. People love Bigfoot and aliens. So this is finally
aliens.
one cryptid I will say was probably aliens.
This probably okay. So
this one does sound like aliens.
I'm getting extraterrestrial vibes, and the pictures, which we'll post on our Instagram, it looks like a giant robotic alien warrior queen.
Yeah, it doesn't look like your typical sort of alien.
It's not like a big
see.
green man.
Right, it's not like the short little dude with the big head or the big slender dudes with the big head. They all look the same half the time. This one, I'm sorry, the dude, to me, like all of these different alien breeds half the time look the same to me. So I like the Flatwood Monster's design.
Yeah, the Flatwood Monster is really cool. It almost looks like it's wearing like a battle dress or something.
Yeah, it looks alien enough to me instead of just like a naked squishy dude with big eyes.
A naked squishy dude.
Half the time, that's what you see.
It's fair.
And it's like, I guess maybe they've moved on to where they don't need clothes in their society anymore.
I mean, some people.
Some people?
Not me. I'm too shy. I don't even wear shorts.
At all. You don't wear anything. Just walk around with your ass hanging out.
I don't do that.
You should get a cool, like, metal dress that makes you float and like acrid smoke or something.
Yes! Well, I do that already.
Yeah, you already said acrid smoke.
But, okay, so that's another thing, and I don't know if you mentioned this part or not. It doesn't have feet.
Right.
It floats.
Yeah, it seems they described it as like a dress as the lower part of the body.
Right.
But some speculate that that's like a transport type thing, like an anti-gravitational. And people that think that it's reptilian in design, there's pictures where they'll do like a cross section where it's like a coiled up snake body inside of this that is just kind of like floating it around. I guess for some reason snakes aren't good at traversing terrain or something. I don't know. I don't know what the reason is for that, but
why snake?
Well, there was one or two sightings that described it as being reptilian.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And there's some where the arms are kind of tentacly. So.
That's another description. They're not even really sure if it had arms. Some of the reports talk about it having like these clawed hands, but they just seem to kind of come out of the torso.
Right.
Whereas, others describe these sort of like long spindly arms attached.
Most of the art is like really long hands with the disproportionately long fingers.
Yeah, I think that's just for creepy factor.
That's fair. It is creepy.
Yeah, because in the original, they're kind of like tucked in. And if you kind of like removed the bottom dress part, it would look like a barn owl.
It really would.
Yeah.
It really would.
It would look like a barn owl. So, there's reasoning behind. They think that it was like a shadow that was making it look like this weird metallic dress, or maybe the owl was carrying something, or was sitting on a branch and it was just foliage. There's a lot of different speculation.
And it was the 50s, so like there was cocaine in Coca-Cola, so there's that too.
Was that only back in the 50s? I think it was longer ago than that.
Hold on, I gotta look it up. I stand corrected.
Editor's note, Caitlin wanted me to remove the section where she incorrectly guessed the year. I refused.
Wow. I thought Clay loved me, but clearly he does not, so that's a thing we have to live with.
So, there you go. There's the Phantom of the Flatwoods. I like that name a lot more.
The Phantom of the Flatwoods was there for a few days, and then he left.
That wasn't necessary. But
I felt like it was. Anytime I can input a little about Broadway. So this is off topic, but we do this a lot. And please stay with me because I came across the Rat King. And this is not enough information to do.
Yeah, the episode is over. This is
just a side
bonus material for anyone.
This is just a bonus. This is just because we love you.
This is the after credit stinger.
Absolutely. So I found the Rat King and I was like, how cute. Because, I love rats. And I was like, I'm going to do an episode on the Rat King.
Oh, yeah, because you thought it was a cryptid.
I did. I thought it was like, this like giant rat. No, a Rat King is something horrendous. I'm just going to read.
That happens in real life.
It does. And it happens not often, but like.
Often enough.
Like it's a thing. It's a real thing. So I'm just going to read this quote. A rat king is a collection of rats whose tails are intertwined and bound together in some way. This may be the result of an entangling material like hair, a sticky substance such as sap or gum, or the tails being tied together. Historically, this phenomenon is particularly associated with Germany. And the worst part is usually when they find these rat kings, the rats are dead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's no way that could survive in bundles of, like 30 or something?
Yeah, there's been like 6 up to 30-something rats tied together. But rat tails do have like a grasping reflex, so they can get stuck on each other real easily.
Yeah, and that's basically what happens. 2 rats get stuck, and then you add more rats.
Yeah.
And they just kind of roll around in a tizzy because they can't escape, so they're freaking out and running in every direction.
Yeah, it's said to be...
Turns into a big, like, Katamari ball of rats.
It's said to be like an allegory for how evil the crown is.
Yeah, like sort of like how corrupt and disgusting it is, that it just kind of...
I just think it's sad. So, mandatory tail docking for all rats.
Tail docking?
Yeah.
I think rats need their tails.
They do.
Okay, so maybe not that.
Yeah,
this isn't a thing that happens in someone's terrarium.
No, this is very rare. And if you have that many rats in a single terrarium, like maybe Rats of Nim would be a good episode.
That's not really a cryptid, but it is extremely messed up.
It is. So the last recorded finding of a rat king was in 2005.
No, it's not that long ago.
It's not. And there was a live rat king that was found. But
or at least some of the rat king was alive.
Well, that's true. So the rat king is not a magical king of rats.
Yeah.
The rat king is really sad.
It mainly takes place in like sewers or like underground waterways, things like that, where
sure,
rats are wont to travel.
So everyone go home and kiss your rat tonight.
Yeah, everybody that has a rat, which is to say us.
Yeah, that's us. Go kiss your rat. Tell your rat we love him.
This is why we can't get another rat. It might form a 2-rat king.
No, my rat
A rat squire, if you will.
A rat squire.
A rat duke.
A rat knight. Okay, everybody. Well, it is very late, and I guess we'll call it a night.
Sure.
Okay. Well, everybody, we love you. We're proud of you. Whatever you have done this week, even if it's just hanging around, good for you. Clay, tell the listeners you're proud of them.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, my God. Okay. Bye, everybody.